Students, today we have to get idea about very interesting unit from your syllabus paper second, that is plant physiology. Name of that unit is absorption of water, isn't it? That we have been learning, I think, since last 2-3 lectures. Students, in last lectures also I have explained you exact the structure of a root which part of that root absorbs the water. Once again, I'm going to explain these things because we know that there are the various regions of the root are there. But out of that one, which is the region, which is the part of root is exactly involved in a fast or rapid water absorption. Here we can see in case of the root root, that is shows presence of a root cap at the tip. We will be able to see very easily. I am making some marks there. There is a root cap. In case of a root cap, relatively that root cap is impermeable to the water and solution. So definitely this root cap never plays any role in the absorption of a water. Above the root cap or next to root cap, there is a meristematic region. Meristematic region in the sense, such a region where the meristematic tissue are there. That region is known as also a meristematic region, and that region always undergoes division and redivision. Because of that one, length of root and size of root also increases, isn't it? Now this meristematic region also known as a most rapid entrance of a solute and most rapid respiration, isn't it? Which role is played by this meristematic region, which is just, we have to say that here or next to root cap, that is a most rapid entrance of a solutes and most rapid respiration. So we know that energy is required for the absorption of a water, and that energy is generated here. That energy is utilized at the time of absorption of a water and mineral also. Now, above the meristematic region, we will be able to find out the region of a elongation is there. This total region is a region of a elongation, isn't it? That is a so entrance of solute and rate of respiration decreases with distance from the root tip. As we are go above or behind the root tip, the rate of respiration there and again entrance of a solute also decreases, isn't it? So this region is known as a region of a elongation. Now, above the root of elongation or next to that one, we will be able to find out. So there is one of the most important region, and that region where we can find the root hairs. These are the root hair region. So at this region we have to say that exactly root hairs producing region is present in between region of elongation and mature region, and between that one, this one is a root hair producing or developing region is there, isn't it? Now here we will be able to see many roots are developed and most rapid entrance of water. So root hairs, as many as root hairs are there, that much amount water when that plant required, that could be absorbed by that. So this is the exact structure, various regions of the root. What you have to do, students, for that one, you will have to sketch this diagram, label this diagram properly, isn't it? So that you will come to know that actually there are the various regions of the root are there, and which part of that one, which region of that root is useful or to the plant in absorption of a water, and which part is useful in the absorption of a solute. All sort of the things we will be able to get idea. And all the topic, I have to say that mechanism of a water absorption is, we have to say that depend upon this basic structure. This structure is known to you because always we are going to have idea about this structure. Now Absorption water, actually absorption of water is proposed by the Atkins. That is proposed by the Atkins, isn't it? Atkins is the name of scientist. That fellow in 1916, Priestley and Arnold in 1952, and Anderson in 1967. These scientists have worked a lot on the exact physiological process, that is absorption of a water by the plant itself. So their names are there. In which year they have given some, we have to say that the exact things about the absorption of the water. Now water molecules are absorbed into the cell wall, that are absorbed into the cell wall of the root hair cells by imbibition. So you have to keep in mind, whenever the water is present in the capillary form, already we have seen there are the 5 forms of the soil water. In that one only capillary form water is absorbed by the plant, or that is only available to the plants. So by the imbibition, actually the cell wall, that capillary water by imbibition is, we have to say that, absorbed by the cell wall of the root hairs. Now the protoplast of the root hair cells is a hypertonic in the sense solute concentration is more as compared to the soil capillary water. So soil capillary water is having a hypotonic type of a concentration or less concentration as compared to. So we know that actually in the osmosis water moves towards the higher concentration. जिकडं साखर तिकडं पाणी पळतं, एवढा एक फॉर्म्युला लक्षात ठेवा ऑस्मोसिसच्या बाबतीमध्ये. And that is according to the concentration, we have to say that gradient, isn't it? Now in osmotic potential, the cell sap of the root hair is higher than the osmotic potential of the soil water, isn't it? So osmotic potential of the cell sap of the root hair is also higher than the osmotic potential of the soil water. आता osmotic potential का जास्त आहे? So because more solutes are dissolved into that one, so that is a hypertonic solution. म्हणून सेल सॅपचं ऑस्मोटिक पोटेन्शियल कसं आहे? ऑस्मोटिक म्हणतोय मी, लक्षात ठेवा, नॉट वॉटर पोटेन्शियल. ऑस्मोटिक पोटेन्शियल इज डिपेंड अपॉन द अमाऊंट ऑफ सोल्यूट डिझॉल्व्ड इन टू सॉल्वंट. जेवढं सोल्यूट जास्त तेवढं त्याचं ऑस्मोटिक पोटेन्शियल जास्त. ऑस्मोटिक आणि वॉटर पोटेन्शियल मात्र डिक्रीज होतं, हे लक्षात ठेवा. ऑस्मोटिक पोटेन्शियल ऑफ सेल सॅप इज युजली बिटवीन, ते किती असतं? हाऊ मच दॅट वन? तो दॅट इज 3 to 8 डिग्री सेंटी 3 to 8 ॲटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशर. व्हाईल दॅट ऑफ रिचेस्ट वॉटर आणि सॉईल वॉटरचं किती आहे? दॅट इज ऑफ ए 1, isn't it? So you may be coming to know that water moves from soil to root hairs, isn't it? Now again absorption of water, we have to get idea. The root hairs cells contain less water. It has a less turgor pressure. Many points you have to keep in mind. Their water is a less, so turgor pressure also less. So high osmotic potential, less turgor pressure of a root hair cell results into increased DPD. Diffusion pressure deficit आहे ते वाढते. कशामुळं? हाय ऑस्मोटिक प्रेशर अँड लेस टर्गर प्रेशर ऑफ द रूट सेल. टर्गर प्रेशर कशामुळे येतं? तर त्याच्यात जेवढं पाणी जाईल तेवढं टर्गर प्रेशर वाढेल. पाणी कमी, टर्गर प्रेशर कमी. ऑस्मोटिक पोटेन्शियल जास्त काय, तर त्याच्यामध्ये सोल्यूटचं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन जास्त आहे. अंडरस्टँड दिस टर्मिनॉलॉजी विल बी मेक यू, आय हॅव टू से दॅट द प्लांट फिजियोलॉजिस्ट इन युअर लाईफ, isn't it? You can go for the research on these also. So for that one you should know actually what is osmotic potential, what is water potential, what is osmosis, what is diffusion clearly, isn't it? With a simple examples. Now this leads to increase in the suction pressure. Suction म्हणजे ओढून घेणार, आणि increased DPD, high osmotic potential and less turgor pressure of the root cell. जिथं आपण सांगितलं increase in the diffusion pressure deficit, that is these things leads to increase in the suction pressure of the root hair. पाणी ओढून घेण्याची क्षमता वाढते आणि त्याच्यामुळं पाणी ह्याच्यात येतं. The cells of endodermis facing to xylem and thin walled and lack of Casparian thickenings, they are called passage cell. In case of this line detail we have to see in the next slide, isn't it? Now pathway of water in root cell. isn't it? How capillary form of soil water actually enters up to the vertical upward movement or upward movement, that is in xylem vessels, xylem ducts, नंतर xylem vessel मध्ये येतं and then it goes upward up to the tip of the plant. So that pathway you will have to understand here. In words I have written this pathway of a water in the root, and then we have to get idea about how actually the diagrammatically I will say to you. First, as already I have said to you, main organ where we have to say that through which region of that root, that is root hair, maximum amount of water is absorbed, what is a root hair, isn't it? That is a root hair. Now from the root hair actually that goes or that enters into the epidermal cell, isn't it? Last time we have learned the structure of a root hair also. Root hair, that is a epidermal outgrowth. It is a unicellular structure. It shows presence of a large vacuole and nucleus is there. So all these things we have studied in the last lecture, that is related with the structure of the root hair also, isn't it? Now that also you will have to remember many times at the time of learning this structure. Now the epidermal cell. In epidermal cell, from the epidermal cell that enters into the cortex, but there is a many successive cortex cells are there that passes through that one and then reaches to the endodermal cell, and from passage cells of pericycle is there, then it enters the xylem, and then xylem duct and upward movement starts. So this is the actually pathway you have to keep in mind. I will say very simple, from root hair to epidermal cell, epidermal to cortex, cortex to endodermis, endodermis to pericycle, and pericycle to xylem cell. That is from xylem cells in also first comes into the xylem duct and then upward movement start in the xylem vessels, my friend. You have to keep in mind all these things. Now I will give you idea, or here you can see clear picture. So this again you have to keep in mind, this picture is of a osmotic active absorption type. So already I have given you idea, this is a root hair, isn't it? Now soil particles are there, this one, and in between the soil particle there is a space, and in that space there is a water which is known as a capillary water, and that water is absorbed or because of imbibition that enters into the cell wall of the root hair, and from the cell wall of the root hair it comes into the epidermis. So this is a single layer epidermis, this one, this is a epidermal region, and from this root it enters into the epidermis, and then in the cortex, this total region is a cortex region, this one, successive cells of cortex region we will be able to see here, and through these successive layers of region, water moves into a endodermis, then in pericycle, and finally in the protoxylem region, metaxylem region. So like that one, and then upward movement takes place through the xylem vessel. So you have to keep in mind, friends, we have been learning actually here the structure, that is nothing but about how actually water enters through the root hairs up to the xylem vessels, and from the xylem vessels directly that goes up to the other things, and that is nothing but the other parts of the plant are there. Now friends, once again I am going to give you idea related with how the water enters. Here the water is present in the soil, isn't it? Present in the soil. In which form? There are the 5 forms are there, but out of that 5 forms, most important form, again and again I am going to tell you, that is nothing but the capillary form soil water is only available to the root, to the plant for their absorption. Now that capillary water, because of imbibition process. Now imbibition process, in the sense we know that the cell wall of a root hair is composed of a many such type of things which shows the molecules, and that molecules are, I have to say that, are hydrophilic in nature. Hydrophilic in the nature, in the sense they loves the water, and because of that one, that imbibition, the water, capillary water imbibed into the cell wall of the root hair, and from the root hair that enters into the epidermis, then from epidermis to successive layers of the cortex, and from the cortex endodermis to pericycle to protoxylem, and protoxylem to metaxylem. So friends, what you have to do now, I will tell to you. Already I have given you idea, shown exact root, various regions of the root. That diagram I have shown to you. Again this diagram, osmotic active absorption diagram. So these two diagrams you will have to sketch properly. Again you can use the colored pens, isn't it? You can use the colored pen, and you can write the exactly what things are happening, how that are playing role in case of absorption of a water, so that, and you will have to sketch at least enlarged, I have to say that the large sketches you have to sketch, so as to understand yourself, and you will have to remember the parts of the root. Again you have to remember the exact pathway of the water absorption, and then only it is possible to you to understand exact how the absorption of a water takes place. As already I have said to you, during this process, actually the osmotic potential, isn't it, concentration of the solution is higher of a roots, isn't it? So same successively things are going to happen. Once water enters into the root cell, hair of the root, then whenever that enters into the endodermis, there also same situation. In the endodermis, osmotic potential is maximum, isn't it, and turgor pressure is less, and because of that one, water whatever present into the root hair that enters into the epidermis, and then from epidermis it enters into successive cells of a cortex region, cortical region. In that also, whenever successive passing of a water takes place, and their next cell is always shows presence of a, there is a increased diffusion pressure, increased osmotic pressure, and decreased turgor pressure, and because of that one, I have to say that water enters successively like that one. Finally water reaches into the xylem vessels. Keep in mind why I am telling all these things, my friends, for your kind information. Xylem is a complex tissue. Why that xylem is, we have to say that the complex tissue, because that is composed of a more than two types of elements. There are the four elements: xylem parenchyma, xylem sclerenchyma, xylem tracheides, and xylem vessels. So complex tissue, four elements are there. Out of that one, most important element, that is the xylem vessels, is responsible for upward movement of a water molecule. So friends, pathway you have to keep in mind. You have to remember all these things. Try to understand, are there things are going to happen or not, because next topic is depend upon this topic. Next lectures depend upon this lecture. So every lecture, every things you will have to remember, you will have to understand thoroughly, and then only it is possible to you to understand exact the many more processes, physiological processes, whatever taking place into the life of the plant, or in the plant, we have to say that you will be able to understand very well, isn't it? And as already I have said to you, definitely we'll go for the sketches. You will sketch the diagrams, and that will help you to again understand. First you sketch the diagram properly, see the diagrams properly, and label that diagram properly, and after labeling, after sketching, you will come to know that the exact part of that specific root which absorbs the, so already I have said to you, root cap is there. At the root tip there is a root cap. Root cap is a never absorbs any type of water molecules or solids. Next to root cap, or behind that one, we have seen meristematic region is there. That region is again followed by we have to say that region of elongation, and in between region of elongation and next to that one there is a root root hair developing region is there, and then there is a region of a maturation is there. So mature part, and in between the elongation of a root region, in between that one there is a root hairs developing region is there. So where is the location, where is the exact that part, which role is played by that each and every part. So you will have to always sketch the diagrams, and I think I have explained to you a lot many things about that absorption of water, structures of the plant part involved into that one, sketches I have shown, pathway of the water absorption already I have once again, if you are interested to tell that, I will give you idea. First of all, water comes into the root hair, then it comes into the epidermis, then in the cortex cells, various successive cortex cells, then it comes into the endodermis, then into pericycle, and then finally into the xylem cells, and finally xylem vessels are responsible to upward movement of a absorbed water through the root hair cell. So I think you might have understood many more things about this lecture. So we will see you in the next lecture related with such a type of a plan from your plant physiology second paper. Thank you very much. Thank you.